Today we want to share how important it is to figure out what stress looks like on your spouse so that your marriage will thrive and not take a dive when one of you is stressed. Today we want to share with you what we've discovered about how we can respond rather than react to each other when one of us is stressed.
When I'm under a lot of stress, I get frustrated, I get angry. It's not pretty. Jenny calls it, I get prickly. I give short answers, I sound impatient or annoyed. It's not fun to be around.
And it makes me want to back off. It makes me want to wait it out. He'll usually come back and say, I'm sorry. So I just kind of withdraw and stay away, or I get mad, or I actually try to find ways to manipulate him. I'm not really aware I'm doing that, but it's what I'm doing to try to get him to act differently.
Yeah, so we had a recent example. I was in the car, I was driving, I was kind of prickly.
Yeah. Actually,
not pretty at all.
Yeah, we were together and we had some errands to run, and I was thinking, oh, we're going to have this time in the car. We're going to be able to really connect. We've been so busy, it'll be great to connect. But I could tell pretty quickly that he was in a bad mood, and I was getting the message, no connection time right now. And so I started to lean away from him, even in the car, and get depressed and be just bummed that here we're going to have all this time that we can't spend connecting. So as usual, I began to withdraw. And then I remembered some of the things we're learning about how it takes one person to reach across. So I decided to ask him, what is going on? Why are you so angry? And he ended up saying, I'm actually not angry, I'm just really stressed out. And then I decided to ask him another question that we found to be super helpful. I said, on a scale from 1 to 10, how stressed are you? And I'm imagining he'll say about a 5. And he said,
10.
I'm a 10.
I'm a 10.
So I immediately was like, oh my goodness, that's really stressed out. So I said, hey, do you want to learn to do some deep breathing? Like I've learned how to do that when I'm really stressed out. And he was like, sure. So we did that together.
Did some deep breathing in the car.
And so I said, how stressed are you now? And I'm thinking he's going to say a 5. And he says, about a 7. So I said, hey, do you want to do this prayer meditation that we can do to meditate on the Lord and just listen to this on an app that I have? And he was like, sure, whatever. And we did. And I said, how stressed are you now? And he said, now I'm a 5. And we just continued to do these things together. And we ended up drawing closer and closer because I was really for him and I was really trying to love him.
And it really turned things around for me, totally. Yeah.
It totally did. And we were like, we now have a new way to communicate when something's going on, this scale of 1 to 10.
What number are you?
What number are you? Exactly, that's what we ask.
Yeah. So when Jenny gets stressed, it looks completely different, right? Because she has a totally different, she doesn't get angry or prickly. She tends to get like anxious or fearful or whatever. And when that happens, she tends to need a lot of reassurance.
I might cry, I might get panicky, I might obsess, and it's not fun to be around someone who is constantly asking the same questions because I'm scared.
What I react with a lot of times before we had this kind of technique to help each other was I would get sort of defensive. Like she would be questioning me, seeking reassurance. I would take it as accusation or doubting me or disrespecting me or whatever. So I've learned though since then, I can recognize when she's feeling anxious or fearful and needing a lot of reassurance, that's a sign that she's feeling stressed.
So recently I was in Baltimore with my granddaughter and my daughter and her family, and I had gotten really stressed, and I called him from the phone when I went out after they were home with the baby, and I went out to do some grocery shopping for them, and I got really lost, and I was in a different city, and I felt really nervous, and I just went from 0 to guess what number?
10.
To 10. And I told Scott, I said, I'm really shaky. I don't know where I am. I found where I was, but it really had triggered me, and I just wasn't in a good place. And I said, I'm a 10. I'm a 10 with anxiety before he even asked me. And so he began to say, what do you need? That really helps me to just focus in. What do you need?
Right now.
And I said, I need you to pray. And he said, yes, I will pray. And then
She said, out loud, now.
out loud,
Right now.
pray for me. And so he did, on the phone through my car. And I got out of the car and I went into the store, and it was really crowded, and I got in the deli line, and it makes no sense, but all of a sudden a wave of peace came over me. And I knew it was Scott's prayers, and I knew that the Lord was with me, and the fear and the anxiety melted away, and I actually began to enjoy myself.
What happens a lot of times is when you can name what's going on, when you can talk about it, kind of factually, using that 1 to 10 scale is a great way, but there are other ways as well. It takes the stress down a notch, but more importantly, it puts you both on the same team. You're both going after the anxiety or the stress, as opposed to you going after each other.
But you have to be willing to say, like Scott saying, I'm not stressed, I'm not angry, I'm stressed. He was stressed, I'm not angry, I'm stressed. You know, he figured it out. He figured out I actually react like I'm mad. I think he's mad at me. So he's learned to say, it's not you, it's not you.
Yeah, real important. Yeah.
And that helps me not withdraw. I've learned to say what I need, like, I need you to pray, or sometimes I say, I need those 4 words. It's gonna be okay. I need to hear that. And you'd think he would remember that, but he thinks differently than me. And so it's really important for me to just say, this is what I need.
I need those 4 words.
And it's never an excuse for him to be ugly to me. It's never an excuse for me to just say, well, I'm stressed, and be disrespectful to him, or, you know, our tones and the level of our voice still needs to be respectful, and it matters. But this just helps bring a togetherness where you're not trying to change your spouse. You're actually able to help them.
Yeah, it's about reaching out with compassion and understanding and helping them in their moment of need. You know, we're kind of seeing each other at our low points, and rather than reacting with withdrawal or disdain or whatever negative reaction we might naturally have, we can respond by reaching out, by naming the situation and getting on the same team to solve the problem.
Isn't that what Jesus does? He doesn't leave us.
Exactly what he does.
He doesn't get disappointed.
Yeah.
He doesn't withdraw. He isn't surprised. He isn't gonna withdraw until we get our act together.
Yeah.
He gives us exactly what it is that we need.
He comes to us in our weakness,
in
our
middle
need,
of it, when we're at the
when
worst.
we're at the worst, and he reaches out to us with the Holy Spirit to give us comfort, to give us compassion, to give us guidance, to give us peace. So.
And so your call to action this week is to really, on your own, figure it out for yourself. Like, what do I act like? What does it look like when I'm stressed out, and why? And then get together with your spouse and share that. It's a game changer.
It's a real game changer.
Yeah, because a lot of times you have all these hurt feelings when it happens, but that's not really what's going on at all. So that's your call to action, and we wish you luck. And remember to ask, well, on a scale from 1 to 10,
What number are you?